Our business case is really about, I saw some titles about energy, but it's quite specific. It has to do with our idea of developing a digital platform to share data coming from components, systems, and other kind of parameters coming from wind farms, from offshore wind farms. And the aim is that this data coming from offshore wind farms all over the world, or all over Europe at least, could be shared by companies from the different segments of the wind energy value chain that most of them nowadays don't have access to this data. I think I will tell you the problem and the opportunity, although it's described there, and better than reading it, and I can save some time in, is if I go directly to the to this image that summarizes, I think, everything, the situation, the problem, and the opportunity. You see in the left side of the slide the value chain, the different layers, different segments of the value chain. At the top of it, the renewable plant owners, I mean the companies that develop and finally own and operate the wind farms, the offshore wind farms. In the next level, it's the OEMs, the original equipment manufacturers, the suppliers of the wind turbines, of the big offshore wind turbines for generating the electricity. We have a third level that is the suppliers of components and subsystems and some engineering firms, suppliers of the OEM, of the wind turbine company manufacturer. And I have also represented the companies that are working in the information and technology communications fields, companies developing software, sensors, communications, data analytics, all that segment. And supporting all these developments, and also very active in this market, what we could call the academia side, research centers, universities, testing laboratories, all that. The issue is that nowadays data is produced in the offshore wind farms, so the owners are the owners of the developers of the wind farms, the utilities, and not only utilities, but investors in general, companies that own these wind farms. And they share this data only under certain conditions and with the signed contracts with the OEMs, because these companies, OEMs, they have to provide at least 2-year guarantee period for the wind turbines, but also in most of the cases they are awarded with the maintenance contracts of this for these wind farms. So we could say that they are the only ones that so far are having access. Some of them making active use of this data to improve the operations, maintenance, and sometimes even to improve the design of the wind farms, but not necessarily. I mean, it depends on their capacity, technical and financial, to develop the applications and to manage this data. The rest of the value chain is integrated at companies that would be willing, and we have been in contact with many of them, companies willing to improve their added value, I mean, to develop new business models and give services in most of the cases to their customers that are the owners of the wind farms and the OEMs, using this data produced in the wind farms. I mean, the information of the status, performance, and availability of the different, not only the wind farm at the, I mean, as a general level, but the performance of each and every subsystem in the wind farm could be really useful, really relevant for many of these companies in the value chain. So that's why we have called them the data users, those that in some cases even they are ready and they are starting to develop some pilot applications for managing and analyzing this data, but the thing is that they don't have access to the big data, I mean the big amounts of data that could be really relevant for them. So the business case is really the idea of developing that solution, that platform, that marketplace where data owners could be upload the data that are being generated in their wind farms. We have also mentioned it could be used also maybe for photovoltaic or maybe for smart grids data, but we are focusing mainly the business case in the offshore sector. And as I said, this is really the opportunity to develop this digital platform to provide this kind of, I don't know if it's a data provider or it's a data broker in the language of IDSA. So this is the approach. The business model is really that this sharing data could be also very profitable and could add value to the owners of data. The wind farm owners could also improve the operation and maintenance of their assets because they will have access to better applications and to added value from their suppliers. And the OEMs also could share some of the efforts that they are carrying out nowadays on their own. That could be shared also with their suppliers and with the whole value chain. And of course, as I said before, the data users, all kinds of component suppliers, companies developing data analytics, artificial intelligence, I mean, they are willing to have raw data, let's say, to work with them. And of course, technology centers and universities that could be very supportive and very active, I mean, in the development of these applications. So our plan is we need these owners of data, we need the European lead firms. Fortunately, in Europe, we have many of these, I would say, world-leading companies developing offshore wind farms and also manufacturing the wind turbines. So that will be our first target because we need them, but we have to make them see that it is going to have added value for them. I mean, they are going to get profit out of it. And of course, it's going to be completely secure, completely safe for them in terms of having trust on the data privacy and security mechanisms that the platform will offer. So these two things are really the let's say, the uncertainties or the certainties we have to offer to this first target. The idea is, in parallel, Tecnalia is developing this digital platform, first the specifications according to the different requirements and data quality, and also complying with the IDSA architecture. And our idea would be that probably to create a new company, to develop a startup that could operate, could manage this platform and offer these data providing services to all the stakeholders in the value chain. We have analyzed the competitors or what is available nowadays in the market. There are several, I would call them maybe pilots or demonstrated platforms. Some research entities, for instance, Catapult has developed a very interesting experience that is called Sparta, and now they are evolving towards the what they call the platform for operational data. But I mean, let's say the functionalities we are foreseeing for the digital platform we are proposing are more advanced. We have been in touch with Catapult, so they could also be partners in this road towards this platform, because they have a huge experience also in the management and in the exchange of information, not online exchange. I mean, it's a process a bit more, let's say, a bit slower and not so direct. But as I said, there are some other experiences. You see there the references, but not. I mean, we haven't found really this platform, this place where data owners could upload the information and data users could select, choose, and access and pay, of course, because the monetization issue is relevant for these services. All of these applications can give some kind of advantages, but it's not really, they don't have the full functionality and the full scope we are proposing. Management team, as I said before, Tecnalia is really our technical manager in this case. They are developing the architecture, they are the experts in the IDSA's connectors, and so they are in the way of developing at least a minimum viable product that could be tested maybe before the end of the year. We represent mostly, we are specifically as a Basque Energy Cluster active in this issue because many companies in our association in our country, most of them component manufacturers and ICT companies, they are demanding really the access to data. They are willing to evolve in the added value network in which they are operating, and we are being supported very also actively by the Basque government agency, the Business Development Agency, EXPO, that is supporting, of course, the initiative in terms of industrial support and also digital support. We have been active also in some European networks, so we can claim we have at least around 30 companies, European companies and research entities interested. We have received from them signed letters of interest because they are willing to collaborate in the development or in the use in the operation of the platform. This is going to be quite quick, the financial projections slide, because as you see is where we need more support and where we have to still devote a lot of efforts, because we have to be able to put numbers, I mean, to estimate prices for data use and access, and try to find out which is the reasonable ratio for data use of owners, of users, I mean, of all the stakeholders involved in this operation. We have also to define a little bit more about the data quality and taxonomy services, how to classify and how to structure the information to make it useful for the users. And well, and this is our short-term, at least, planning. As I said, we are still working in the specification of the platform, and in parallel trying to better define this business model. And our hope is that before the end of the year we may have at least a first MVP to test it and to validate it against some data sets we could upload there. That's it so far.